Hi all, I'm Shakhar and welcome to the recitation on debugging deep neural networks. Debugging is an important skill that is required not just for IDL, but all other courses in general that involve coding. Over the recitation, I'll take you through some common debugging scenarios, general coding tips, and then we'll go to visualizing image and speech datasets. We use the image and speech datasets for our homework, and it's important that you know how to visualize them. So some common debugging scenarios include when you're confused. You'll see that your code is running, but your plots are completely flat. Your training accuracy or your test accuracy, it goes completely flat and it's not improving over time. Another scenario is when you're completely blocked. Your code will keep on throwing an error and you're not able to proceed. The stack traces sometimes can be too long, and again, you're not able to proceed. Maybe your data loader is not working, maybe your test loop is not working, maybe your train loop is not working. And then a third scenario can be that your model is taking forever to train. Everything works, all your code is fine, you see gradual improvements in your accuracy, but still it's taking 2 hours for an epoch, which is unusually high for any of the homeworks that we have. So let's see what are some good practices that help overall to write better code. First of all, we try to consolidate all hyperparameters. Most of the notebooks that we have for this homework aren't very long. You'll have multiple cells, you'll have different hyperparameters being used in different parts of the notebook, and it's hard to keep track of them. Sometimes the same parameter might be required on different cells, and it might be that you keep something somewhere and something somewhere else. And in case of mismatches, it's very hard to see what is failing and what is the exact reason for that. So a good practice is to keep all your hyperparameters into one config dictionary and then reference it via that config dictionary. In this course, we use 1B, and as you'll see in the 1B specific recitation, it helps you to track any trends in your work, in your configurations, how to improve upon your accuracy, and so on. And in that case, logging every run properly with the config really helps you to compare all of them and see a gradual trend as to what is actually causing the network to improve or what is causing it to go bad. So it's really important that you maintain a proper config dictionary, and even in the initial notebooks that we share, ensure these good practices are present, and we expect that in the later notebooks you make use of them. We encourage that you write test cases for each of the smaller parts of the notebooks that you're stuck on. The notebooks would be incredibly long, I cannot emphasize that enough. It might be that a single cell is failing, but that is calling functions from another cell, and that cell is calling functions from another cell. So it's very important that you write small test cases. Even the initial notebooks that we share for homework 1 or homework 2 involve very small level test cases that ensure that your data loader is working fine, that your augmentations are good, and we expect you to write even more test cases in case you're failing. They really help into seeing what is working right or what is not working right. Some good practices again are to print the type and shape of your important variables. Then most of the data sets that we have would be huge arrays, so there's no point of printing the entire arrays because it will be hard to see what's right, what's not right. Encourage you to slice and print only a small segment of your high dimensional variables. As you go further into the implementations, we encourage you to use a lot of data augmentations, and a lot of them use hyperparameters which are not very easy to determine. So one way to do that is to visualize your data using matplotlib. We have a short code demo at the end where we'll show you how to actually visualize your data using matplotlib. And again, you might have too many epochs in the loop, and instead of trying to complete your training and then at the end trying to run your test just to realize that your test function failed, we encourage that you run your complete flow with just one iteration, and when everything works fine, then you try to improve your iterations. Print statements are really helpful when you're debugging in a Jupyter Notebook environment. Print statements are really important to debug as well. You can use these statements to print your shape, your type of the variable, whether it's a tensor, whether it's a numpy array, why something is failing, why there is a shape mismatch, and all of that. It can be used and controlled using print your information, and once everything starts to work, you can just set it to false instead of commenting all the print statements and then uncommenting it. Printing too much information can also slow down your training significantly, because the data sets might have thousands or millions of rows, and then if you're continuously printing information, it will probably block your read and write buffer, and obviously you do not want that. So it's always advised that you use your print statement with a debug flag. More often than not, you'll realize that you ran some cells by mistake. It's hard to keep track, there are too many things happening, and you're still trying to debug and make it work. So sometimes when you mess up your cell running order, your code is completely fine, everything is correct, there's nothing wrong with your code. You can just restart your kernel and rerun everything from the beginning. So yeah, these are some good practices that you can use. Let's jump on to visualizing some image and speech datasets now. So here we have our notebook, which covers the visualization of datasets. We focus on speech and image datasets because speech would be used in your homebooks 1, 3, and 4, and image would be used in your homework 2. So it's important that you know how to visualize these things. So here we have a running example where we use the fashion MNIST dataset, which consists of 60K training examples and 10K test examples. These images are 28x28 grayscale, and they have 10 possible labels for each of the images, 1 out of 10. So let's look at a toy example. We load our dataset to do some sanity checks around it. So let's look at the 100th instance of the dataset, and let's look at what the type of the image is. It's a tensor, and what's the size is 12828, and the label is 8. All of this makes sense because, as we know, the fashion MNIST dataset is of 28x28 size, and the value of the label is somewhere between 0 to 9. So let's try to look at what the image looks like. So we'll print our image, but whoa, this cannot be visualized for sure. There's no way that a human can comprehend what exactly this is. So we know that it is a bag because we know the label, but there's no way to visualize this, and you don't always have your tags or your labels. So what we do is we try to use matplotlib here to print the image and see what exactly it is. So we print the image, and it is a bag, and you can now see that, okay, yeah, whatever you loaded is correct, and your dataset loader is working fine. And here we use image.squeeze because matplotlib can print a 2D image, and we have the dimensions of the image as 12828. So the squeeze takes out the first dimension of the image, and yep, we can see that it indeed looks like a bag. So this visualizing would be incredibly useful when you do your homework too. We encourage you to use a lot of augmentations in that, and it's hard to determine what exact rotation you should use or what exact jitter value you should use, and you try to make it as near to a human experience as possible, in the sense that how images are generally taken, to make it like more generalizable. So you can change your values, print it, change it, print it, change it, print it, until you see that, okay, it looks better now. So yeah, in that way visualization is really important. And as a practice, you can visualize the 10th image or any image that you want. I'll share these notebooks on the website, and you can continue visualizing stuff that you want. Let's go to visualizing some speech dataset now. We get a couple of WAV files, and we use Torch Audio to load them, and then IPython display to display these files. So speech files are usually in the waveform that we share in this course. You can use the audio ipd.audio utility here, and then you can play your file, and then you can see that it's around 10 seconds long. The shape of the audio is 160K, and the frequency is 16K. Final shape of the audio. Then you can also generate MFCC features. You'll learn more about MFCC features as you enter into your homework 1, and what they are and what they are actually used for. There's printing waveforms is incredibly useful when you start working on your augmentations. You can see exactly what happens when you do a time masking or what happens when you do a frequency masking. And again, as practice, you can go and run more experiments on other wave files. So here's something that you can try, Matplotlib for beginners, and you can use these to visualize more and more features around your images and everything, and it will be incredibly useful to you for the rest of the homeworks. Thank you.